love isn't enough. It's not enough of a reason to stay, especially when you're being hurt, especially when someone's taking advantage of you and treating you less than what you're worth. You don't deserve that. And the more you convince yourself to stay in that situation, the more you're going to knock your own worth because you're around someone who doesn't value you the way you should be valued. You'll start to believe that you deserve the way that they're treating you. You start to believe that this is the way it's supposed to be because you're living by that definition every day. So it's altering reality for you. What happens when you reach the end of the line and you realize you've spent years and years fighting for a person who's never fought a day for you? What do you do then? Will you finally walk away? Will you finally let them go? I think you can do it now. I think you deserve it now. And I believe you're capable of it. So you're missing them, and you're wondering whether or not you should reach out. Now, before you do, I'd like to ask you something. What is it that you're missing right now about them? Is it the way that they made you feel? Is it their charm? Is it their quirks? Now I want to take it a step further and ask, if you weren't alone right now, would you be missing them? And if you don't know the answer to that question, then I'm starting to wonder if what you're missing right now is just companionship or the person. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be around someone, but nothing's changed. Since it ended, nothing has changed. They haven't changed. So I just wonder what it is you're holding on to. It would end just as it did before. Nothing's changed. Hey, just wanted to check in with you today and see how you're doing. Are you okay? And if not, that's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You never do. The fact that you showed up today, the fact that you're here, I'm thankful for that, because the world would not be the same without you, whether you realize it or not. Darkness exists to remind us how good the light feels, so we have to feel those lows to make the highs feel so much better. It's okay. It's okay not to have a perfect day. It's okay not to be a perfect person. That's just a part of life. So, if you're in a moment of lowness, just know that there's a brighter moment just ahead. We can get there together. You're not alone. You never are. Should you stay or should you go? If you're evaluating what you should do right now, start to ask yourself the right questions. Does it cause you any relief to think about leaving the situation that you're in right now? When you think about not having to worry about their needs above yours, not having to constantly give love, hoping that they might notice you or acknowledge you, or finally reciprocate what you're trying to give to them? Is there any relief in the thought that you won't have to overextend yourself anymore? And if there is, then maybe the leaving part, as much as it hurts, might be the right thing. Because that pain is just you letting go of something that you've familiarized yourself with. You've literally invested your time and your efforts and your life into something. So of course it's gonna hurt. You're gonna mourn the loss of that relationship, but you have to decide for yourself whether or not you've been dying inside a little bit every day in it. We accept the love we think we deserve. That quote goes so far to explain both the love that we think we deserve and the love that the person we're with thinks they deserve. So as much as you try to love them, as many things as you try to do for them, they will only accept the amount that they can receive. So if they don't know how to receive the amount of love you can give, it doesn't mean that your love is wrong. It doesn't mean that you're wrong for giving it. It just means that they don't know how to receive the extent of it. They can't appreciate and accept it the way that you want to give it. So it's not a question as to whether or not your love is right. It's a question as to whether or not you're giving it to the right person. And if they don't know how to receive it, if they don't know how to accept it, then maybe the love that you're accepting from them isn't to the degree that it should be. Maybe you deserve more than what they're giving you. And in turn, when you select the right person, they'll love you the way that you want to be loved deep down, and you'll give them the same. It'll never be a fight. Who are you missing right now? And I don't just mean someone that you're in love with. I mean Maybe it's someone that's not even here anymore. And what would you say to them if you could say anything right now, if they were right in front of you? Would you tell them that you love them and that you think about them often and that you hope that they're proud of the person you've become? Would you hold them? Would you cherish that moment more than you did the moments when they were actually here? Because that's how life usually goes. You just, you appreciate people to a certain extent and you never think about them not being there anymore. So we live a half grateful life. And when we realize that life is so short and we're reminded in times of loss, we're given a chance to experience life through a different perspective and appreciate and cherish those moments because we're given them. Let it go. I know it's so hard. You don't want to let go of everything that you've experienced with them, but please let it go. You're sinking with it. You're sinking with all of these thoughts of what could have been and what should be and if only they did, and that's not real. What's real is that they're gone, and what's real is that you're hurting and that there's so much more happiness out there for you. You just have to find it. And you can't find it when you're focused on someone who's gone. You'll miss everything that's in front of you right now. Embrace every moment. It will hurt, but each day it will get easier. It will feel lighter until it doesn't hurt anymore. But you just have to start by trying to let go. Step by step you can get there. I promise you can. When someone walks away, let them. Don't beg. Don't plead. Don't try your best to show them everything that you are in hopes that they turn around and see you're everything they ever wanted. Don't. That isn't love. Love doesn't beg. Love doesn't make you feel inadequate. Love is just pure and honest and true. It shows up when you show up. No influence required. When you experience true love, you'll realize this when you look back on the situation that you were just in. But until then, just convince yourself there's better. And don't even convince yourself, just believe it. It may take some time, but just because you haven't experienced something yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Give yourself the chance to feel it. The real depth and truth of love. You're not just afraid of losing that person, you're afraid of losing love because you associate love with that person. We believe in soulmates and other halves, and we tell ourselves that if it isn't them, it's no one. Because the only thing that we can associate love with is what we've experienced with them. When in reality, what we experienced with them was inside of us. They had just brought it out of us. So yes, you had the capacity to love them. You had the capacity to share your life with them for a time that made you feel so good. But it's over. It's done now. And with letting go, you let go of them. But you don't lose that feeling. That feeling is still there. That feeling has always been there. And you can turn it towards yourself. When no one else will love you, love yourself. I know that we don't need another person to be okay. I know that we can love ourselves, but there's something about someone else loving us and companionship and just partnership in general. It feels so good. Having a teammate, having a partner who just shows up for you, especially in the moments when we feel so low, someone to bring us up. So when we feel low, they lift us. And when they feel low, we do the same. Sometimes I close my eyes and I imagine that person, because I've never had that before. And I wonder if that's dreaming in real life, you know? In that moment when you're awake and you just look at the sun and you imagine your life with someone who could love you and care about you the way that you have the capacity to. I think that's okay. I think it reminds us that we can feel it, we just haven't found it yet.